Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. We have a tremendous wrestling card for you today here on All-Star Championship Wrestling, which, of course, features the world's greatest wrestlers.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion, Bobo Brazil. The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Hopefully you're having a good week since we last talked to you. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Lots of fun stuff going on out there. Hopefully you got out to watch some wrestling. There is plenty of it everywhere, no matter where you are. And make sure you do get out there and support independent wrestling in your area. But we're glad that you're with us right now. We have a great episode for you today. But before we get into that, last week's episode was already recorded, ready to roll out, and so I didn't get to mention and bring up that independent wrestling here in the Midwest, particularly in Indiana, lost a brother on June 16th at the age of 71. We lost Cousin Bubba, David Lamb, and again, like I said, the last week's episode was already set to upload, and I didn't get to mention it, so I wanted to make sure I brought it up this week. I met Bubba several times at shows early on, where he was there and around. First remember seeing him on Pro Wrestling International TV here local in the area, Diamond Dance Group. He did a hillbilly gimmick, and it was always fun and entertaining to watch. Was a great guy, great to talk to, and one of those guys that I always had intended on having on the show. We spoke a few times online about having him on. He was going to do it. We did have him on briefly on the Dallas James tribute episode. He talked about Dallas a little bit on that, but I was going to do a full-scale interview with him, and we just never really jived out to get the scheduling done, and now I'm regretting it that we didn't get to do that, but we lost him, like I said, on June 16th at the age of 71, and I'd take just a moment of silence here for Cousin Bubba to remember him. All right, thank you. And in honor of Bubba, we'd like to, I'd like to give, I like classic audio, right? And I'd like to put classic audio here on the show, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And so we're going to give a little Cousin Bubba classic audio from, again, this is from Pro Wrestling International from 1995. This is a promo with Bubba and Big Rig Rollins, his tag team partner. They had just won the PWI tag titles from the James boys, Dallas and Austin. And they did it. Dallas and Austin had won them, I believe, from Bubba and Rollins, and then would not give them a rematch originally. Anyway, it ended up Bubba and Rollins had to go under hoods and call themselves Batman and Robin, and they ended up tricking the James boys into getting a rematch, and they won the tag titles. But here's a little classic audio with Bubba and Rollins talking about winning the tag titles and their whole scenario and feud with the James boys.
Hello, PWI fans. I'm Dave Yearwood, and this is what's happening. We now have new tag team champions, Cousin Bubba and Big Rig Rollins, or Batman and Robin as they called themselves. But we've got some new questions now. Will these new champions be defending champions? Will they be wrestling champions? And will they give a shot again to the James brothers? Those questions need to be answered, and Richard Crow caught up with them right after that match.
Batman and Robin, or should I say Cousin Bubba and Big Rig, how do you feel about your championship?
We got the belts, didn't we? Now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. They was considered enough to give us a rematch. So next week, we will give them a rematch. I don't think Austin James is going to be capable of doing it. But if Dallas James could get him a partner, we'll give him a rematch next week.
How about you, Big Rig? Anytime, any place. Austin, Dallas, this is a little taste. You made us wait 3 weeks. We got them now, but we won't give them up as easy.
That's correct. 3 weeks we waited on these, and we took them from you tonight. Now we're going to give you that rematch that you guys deserve. Remember, one rematch. That's all you give us, one. Then we had to go under disguise, which we know these people out here did not know who we were.
That's right. That's right. You had everybody fooled. Had everybody fooled. So that's going to be a match that will need to be seen.
I hope that the commissioners will sign this because I want it next week. A rematch. Dallas, get him a partner. Austin James ain't going to be able to do it.
All right. Well, we'll tune in next week and see what the outcome of this rematch will be.
Number one right here. Big Rig and Cousin Bubba, number one.
All right. And like I said, Cousin Bubba will be missed. We like to send our thoughts, good vibes and everything to his family, friends, his peers, everybody that knew him over the year, and that will certainly miss him. Like I said, we have a great show for you here today. We have this up-and-coming monster, Justin Kyle. We have an interview with him. This is a guy you're going to want to keep your eyes on in the future. But we have an interview coming up with him. Before we do that, let's get through a few things. Go and check out PowerSlam.tv for great independent wrestling action streaming online. They have well over 100 promotions, well over like 4,000 hours of wrestling, including like AAW and many, many others here from the Midwest. And the best thing is, if you go sign up, you enter the promo code Dynasty, you get 1 month for free, so you got nothing to lose. Go check them out. Again, that is PowerSlam.tv. Use the promo code Dynasty to get 1 month free. Some upcoming shows that you might want to check out. I will certainly keep my eyes on them. On July 5th in Carmel, Indiana, Wrestling Theology Fellowship presents Independence. They will have Brian Pillman Jr., Shane Mercer, Calvin Tankman, much, much more. I mean, this roster, this show is great. It's stacked. It is a who's who of independent wrestling here in the Midwest. So go check them out, July 5th in Carmel, Indiana. Next night, July 6th in Chicago, Illinois, Major League Wrestling presents Kings of the Coliseum. I will be at this show in Chicago. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I will. It'll be a great, great show. Lots of great action. If you're not checking out MLW, I advise you to. Their show is Fusion is on free on YouTube every week. So go check them out. And then on September 7th in Chicago, Illinois, again, will be Ring of Honor. And I will be also checking that show out. And I advise you do too. So now, I'm on the kick here. Let's do a little more classic audio. I've got a couple more things that I'd like to throw out for you. You know, we like to dive into the history and different things. And this cool audio clip that I had on my hard drive that I came across. This is for late night show talk show host and comedian David Letterman, who you may or may not know is from Indiana, right? I believe he was born in Bloomington. He went to Ball State University. Has been very active still there with his alma mater. But this is an interview he did with Bob Costas, and I don't have the year, but this is where he talks about watching Dick the Bruiser wrestling WWA out of Indianapolis when he was young. And he specifically talks about Bobby Heenan. It's a pretty cool little clip, so let's check it out. Again, this is David Letterman talking about Bobby Heenan.
What's your idea of good TV?
I like, the monster truck racing. I like that.
On ESPN,
yes.
Yeah.
Car crushers, that kind of stuff. I could watch that hour upon hour.
Wrestling, perhaps? Wrestling?
Exactly. I love wrestling.
Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, an in-depth analysis?
Bobby the Brain Heenan is from Indianapolis, Indiana, my home city.
Yeah.
And Bobby was involved in wrestling in Indianapolis. He was in the era of Dick the Bruiser, who in the Midwest, you couldn't get a better-known wrestler than Dick the Bruiser.
True.
You knew him, I guess, from
St.
Missouri.
Louis. Yeah.
And we would go to the matches periodically. They'd always have a big Thanksgiving card.
That's the kind of thing you want to top off a family day.
And Bobby the Brain, even then, I thought it was a real touch of kind of genius. I mean, he was from Indianapolis. Dick the Bruiser, I think, was from Indianapolis, but always was introduced as from Reno, Nevada, the world's most dangerous wrestler. And I thought, geez, I wish I could be known as the world's most dangerous anything. And by the way, how do you prove that, you know? But Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was not Bobby the Brain in those days, was actually a wrestler, little puny guy that he is. And he always had himself introduced as being from Beverly Hills. And the wrestling crowd on Thanksgiving night, I mean, you couldn't have said anything more irritating to these people than to have this little weasel, this little bleached blonde geek coming into the ring as having been from Beverly Hills and all that would possibly suggest. And I thought in those days I predicted big things for Bobby. Big deal.
What a talent scout you turned out to be.
It's very cool stuff there. Again, David Letterman talking about Bobby Heenan, saying that he could even tell early on that pretty boy Bobby Heenan had a bright, bright future. I think most of us could, right? If you watch early footage, it's easy to see that, this guy's going to become a star. So very cool stuff there. And also, now let's talk some more history here. Coming up in this week, on June 25th, so on June 25th, 1983, Bobby Colt won the WWA title from Dick the Bruiser in Indianapolis, and that's a title he would hold until January 7th, 1984, when he lost it to Spike Huber. Way back on episode 43, we had Bobby Colt on the show as a guest. Talked about lots of things. Talked about his career, getting started, where all he wrestled. Lots of great stuff there. I advise you to go back into the archives and listen to that, episode 43 with Bobby Colt. But we're now going to play you just a snippet from it, talking with Bobby Colt, where he discusses working in the WWA there in the 80s particularly, and what it was like coming in and working with different guys in the WWA. Good stuff here from Bobby Colt, a flashback to episode 43.
In the beginning, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, like, actually, when I first came over for Bruiser, I was in between gigs, and one of the workers came through, gave me a call and said, "Hey, taking," and he said, "We're going over to Indiana." He said, "One of the guys could make it." He said, "You want to go over and make $2 bucks?" And I said, I'm always up for trying to make some money, Yeah. And so there he said, "Well, you get it to open up," and that type of thing. So anyway, we goes over there. I had 2 matches. We had them on Friday and Saturday night. One of them I wrestled Bobo Brazil, which was great because Bobo and I had worked over the years with each other. And then the second one was with Spike Huber and Steve Riggle in a tag team match. Okay. And, then I just went back home, and all of a sudden, about a week later, I got a phone call, and, and I was like, "This is Bobby Colt. This is Dick the Bruiser. You need to get your ass over here. You need you to work some." So I'm like, "Okay, hey, So I come over, and again, I thought it was just going to be, fill in for people and stuff. And then, I had one match. He was there 10 minutes there, and came back after the match, and Menaker took me and said, he goes, "You're in, kid." And I'm like, "What do you mean I'm in?" He said, "Dick liked your work." He said, "You're going to probably be seeing a lot of working with him." So, and that's just, all of a sudden I just started, going over guys and working semi-main events and then working main events with Dick. I mean, I got to admit, I was impressed. I wasn't full of myself or anything, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I felt that they must have saw something to want to bring me in and all of a sudden shoot me up to, that high on the card,
Yeah.
Dick, with Dick's reputation that he had, that I actually found him a lot easier to work with than I thought I was going to. And Dick again was being an old guy. I mean, he liked it. His was like, don't go out there and being a damn sissy. He said, "If you hit me, hit me." So I've been like, "Okay." Because I knew I'd get it back if I did. So whatever, But, but then, then Harley Race came in. It was, again, 7-time world champion. Like Wilbur Snyder. Wilbur was the type of guy that, remember, I only had 2 matches with him, but both times he was stiff as hell.
Yeah.
And, he slapped me across the face one time I was in the corner. I was like, "Damn, dude." But, I think he did it to see how I'd react and, the whole thing afterwards, as I look back on it. But look at all the different stars that came through Indiana, so.
All right, a great highlight there from Bobby Colt. Again, go back, episode 43. Listen to that full interview. I highly advise. Bobby's going to be a guy we're going to have back on the show sometime for a follow-up interview that I want to talk to a little more in depth about his career and his time in Indianapolis, and great stuff. Bobby's a guy I've talked to several times, And he actually sent me some pictures, some promo pictures from his past, and kind of thinking, if anybody would like these promo pictures, get with me. I've talked about producing them and selling them for Bobby. We could get them autographed by him. So if it's anybody has an interest in that, shoot me a message online, or you can email me at dave@davedynasty.com, and let's discuss that. Sorry, forgot what I was going to say there, but this is a good time to take a break. And when we come back, we'll have that interview with Justin Kyle. But first, we're going to tell you how you can find us online and on social media, and how you can support the show and keep it free for every week. So listen to that, and afterwards we'll have the interview with Justin Kyle, so stick around. Hey, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is your central hub for everything within the world of the Dave Dynasty Show. From there, you can find links to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of classic wrestling, every episode of the podcast, and other exclusive features there. While you're at DaveDynasty.com, check out the links to help financially support the show. That is how we keep this free every week. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty and buy a shirt to help us out. PayPal.me/The Dave Dynasty to make a one-time financial contribution. Patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. Or you can click our affiliate links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. No additional charge to you, but it helps us out. Thank you for your support, and check out DaveDynasty.com. Complete your experience, The Dave Dynasty Show.
And welcome back to The Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Justin Kyle. How are we doing today, sir?
Doing fine. How about you?
Doing great. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So, Justin, go ahead and tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I'm transplant down here. Just started down here about a year ago wrestling.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So is that, you said you moved there recently? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in northern Michigan, about Traverse City, Boyne City area, and made a career, and then transferred into wrestling.
Okay, very nice. So tell us, were you a wrestling fan as a kid, or is this something that you developed more as you grew?
Big fan of Sting, Surfer Sting back in early 90s there, Ultimate Warrior, came into The Rock, those guys there.
Okay. So definitely that 90s era, arguably one of the best eras of wrestling. So let me ask you this. So obviously you have a little bit of a past with wrestling there. You had a little passion for it. When did you know that wrestling was something that you wanted to do? When did you make that transition into wrestler from being a fan?
Well, as most wrestlers probably talk about here, we grow up wanting to be wrestlers. That's something we always want to do. Once I stepped away from MMA, it's something I transferred in, started putting in a lot of work. And to be honest, although I knew that I always wanted to do it, it was something I wanted to do, and that transfer from MMA was very difficult to come into wrestling. I will say that wrestling and getting accustomed to how this works was a lot harder than MMA.
And but I'm sure that it was. I would venture to guess it was probably it was good to have that experience in MMA to be able to then jump into wrestling. Do you think that being in MMA had that gave you that kind of advantage on that?
Oh yeah, especially with the Justin Kyle brand. That's it. I can bring that sense of violence into the ring, and that footwork and that explosiveness. It's transported very well.
No, absolutely. So with that, you were trained by Trip Cassidy, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that. Tell us what it was like to train with Trip.
Well, Trip and I are very different wrestlers. He tries to work with me as much as possible. He's a very technical, sound wrestler. I'm more of a big man, explosive, slow-moving, sometimes plotting type wrestler. Working with me on a lot of transitions and different chain stuff. But obviously, if you know Trip, you know that background's a little bit different. He brings a little bit of that lucha taste into what he does too. So
absolutely. So definitely, you had somebody who had a little bit of a different style, but that kind of meshed well with you because you had, even though you had a different style, you could definitely build off of what he had to teach you.
Yeah, he's Trip Cassidy is a wrestling genius. When it comes to wrestling, even when he doesn't do what he does in the ring sometimes, like I do, he definitely knows how to do it if he needs to.
Yeah, and actually we've had Trip on the show before, and he's definitely he's a real good guy, and he's definitely something in the ring for sure. But let me ask you this, a little more on like kind of a personal note. You also work in law enforcement, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So tell us, I don't know if this question will make sense, but tell us how the two go hand in hand: law enforcement, wrestling, MMA. How does all of that relate for you?
I would say being a people person,
right,
in my law enforcement career has worked well with meshing with the crowd and really building good relationships with wrestlers backstage. I would also say that's been kind of a detriment sometimes because the general consensus with some people is law enforcement isn't always approachable. So I really had to earn my role in the locker rooms, mouth shut and listen when the veterans were talking to me because it was my responsibility to kind of earn my position.
But also, with law enforcement, I feel like much like wrestling, I'm sure it requires a lot of dedication. I feel like, it takes a lot of time to, train and to get into the law enforcement. And similar with wrestling, it takes some time and a lot of dedication to hone your craft, if you will.
That's something I'm used to. It's something I've been raised to. I'm a blue-collar guy. I've never been afraid of putting in the work. And as a matter of fact, I really don't want something if I haven't earned it.
Right.
So when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to college football, when it came to my MMA career, I always put in that work. And then in doing that, I built that confidence to kind of perform well at different levels.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I like the wording you used. I don't want something unless I've earned it.
Yeah.
And that's a good mentality to have, especially in the wrestling business. You have a lot of stuff that you really have to work hard for. It's not an easy task to wrestle. So earning it is basically building up the courage to get in that ring. But also because I know personally I could never wrestle. So, but
yeah, I mean it's kind of a rite of passage, especially in wrestling because so much goes into it. You have to have so much trust with the people you work with and the people you train with. You really have to show them that you understand completely what's going on.
But I think that part of that, part of your passion, part of your determination, and that is grit, just saying, I'm going to earn this and I'm going to make sure that I get what I need and get what I deserve. You've been getting to make an impact here in the Midwest. Do you kind of feel that in the swing of your career beginning as your demand goes up?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities come in. More and more people are making contact with me. Obviously, I pass everything through Trip, and he gives me kind of a general idea in the direction he wants me to go or thinks I should go, and I have a lot of faith in what he does. So I just kind of move forward with what he thinks is best picture for me.
Right, absolutely. So I guess on a little bit of a side note, because we've talked a lot about just where you kind of started, how you got into the business. Some of your early inspirations, some people that you liked in the 90s there. But talk to us a little bit about Bizarro Lucha. Their shows have a little bit of a buzz here in the Midwest. And talk about the side character that you've unleashed there.
Yeah, so anywhere I've gone, whether it be Southern Indiana, Central Indiana, Northern Indiana, I've wrestled primarily in Indiana so far and just starting out. Everyone wants to know about Bizarro Lucha and the Bizarro Lucha crowd because they're kind of unique. Trip Cassidy put that show together, if your listeners don't know that, and he brings a lucha twist to the Indiana wrestling scene. And the Malchus character that I play from Dr. Nephilim Magnanimous is Justin Kyle turned up to 1,000,000 with a demonic side, really. I don't do a lot of talking as Malchus. I just do a lot of destroying when I come in there. We're kind of set up that way.
So and that's a little bit different than your other persona, if you will. But definitely, I feel like it's a good character. It's got a lot of it's definitely entertaining to watch. I will say that for people who out there who maybe have not seen it or heard about it, I guess. But I guess along with that, we've talked a lot about the wrestling side of things, but you also really have a good grasp on branding and selling yourself. Was this something that was taught to you by anyone, or was this just something that you knew coming up?
Well, I mean, coming from an MMA career, self-promotion really got you looks. I had fortunately in my MMA career, I had an agent that did a lot of that for me. But in wrestling, it's been just something kind of I understood how the game works. I was new to it. I listened to the people around me. I had guys like MJF talk to me about branding. I had Trip Cassidy talk to me about branding. I had the Bomb Shelter talking to me about branding. And I really just put everybody's ideas together and what works for my character. And it's worked out pretty well so far.
And I definitely feel like with branding, especially in professional wrestling now, with social media and everything else, and I'm sure this relates directly to MMA, but it's so important to, have your name out there, even if you just have, your Facebook page, your Twitter page, whatever it might be, having those media sources are so important in this new age of technology that it's almost detrimental not to have like a Facebook.
Yeah, and you know what? From what I know, obviously I've only been in this game for a short time so far. From what I know, it used to be, hey, you put a tape together, you put a resume together, and you send these tapes and this other information all across the country to different promoters. Now, everything's available at the fingertips. So if you're not putting yourself out there and you're not getting those looks, then that's kind of on you in some regard. So
100%, back in the day, you kind of mentioned tapes. Back in the day, you had tapes that you sent promoters to see, what you had, and that obviously has evolved to, now you need a YouTube page where you can link your promoters and say, hey, this is the kind of work that I do. And like you said, if you don't have your stuff out there, it's almost on you if you don't get those, those calls and you don't get those messages because you have all the resources at your fingertips.
Yeah, and some of that comes into, I got together with Trip Cassidy. He's got an excellent group of people that he works with. In doing that, you gain a reputation of safe, clean guys, clean workers that know how to work in the business. So, as much as I do, as much as I can do, as much as I will do, I would be a lot further behind if it wasn't for the people that I train with and the guy that trains me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely one of those, credit where credit's due. And that's another thing, too, is that, when we talk to Trip, he's also very, very much into the making sure that use your resources and do what you can do to get yourself out there. So I guess on a slightly different note, wrestling right now in the Midwest is super exciting. It's pretty explosive. As Midwest wrestling, I know you said that this is kind of where you wrestle most, but would you say that you pride yourself working in the Midwest, or are there other places that you like to work?
I see a lot of different promotions. They hit me up sometimes. Right. I feel like, for the most part, Midwest has the biggest buzz. Obviously, we've got OVW in the Midwest. We have a lot of prominent promotions, though, especially in Indiana, that are bringing in big names, but also they're creating a platform for the big names in the Midwest to kind of branch out here. So I would say, in terms of what I'm trying to do, I'm interested in working just about anywhere. It just kind of depends. I suffered an injury, and I had a setback, so it's kind of slowed things down a little bit. But the big shows in Indiana, I'm already working in those shows. And then those shows are becoming so prominent that everybody else will take notice as well.
So I guess one other thing we want to kind of talk to you about, we've talked a lot about wrestling. We've talked a lot about, promoting yourself, selling yourself, getting yourself out there. But we also kind of want to know, what is Justin Kyle like away from the ring? What do you do in your free time? Do you have any hobbies or anything like that?
Really, man, Justin Kyle is just like any other person. I work out. I do my research in terms of wrestlers go. I got to do my research. I try to eat right. Sometimes I let my mind get a little tricked up with what I'm eating. I guess like anybody else.
Right.
I'm a father, so I mean I put time into that. But I spend a lot of time working out and training, really.
You have a simple life. You just have the things that you like to do, and then you just do it. That is awesome for me. One other thing I was going to ask you about, we're in the midst of 2019, and I feel like 2019 has been a really explosive year for wrestling just in general. So what kind of goals do you have for yourself for the remainder of 2018? Or 2019, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, as far as goals go, when I first came in, I've achieved some. In all honesty, my big goals were to work for the same companies that Sting worked for, to kind of mirror his career in some aspect at a lower level. Obviously, Sting's one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
But I was trying to hold the same titles that Sting held at some point. My aspirations are to have a name in the industry, but in all honesty, I really want to get to a point where I become good enough to be able to give back to other wrestlers that are coming up, just like my trainer has done for me.
That's a very noble goal, being able to get yourself to a position where you can give to other people what your trainer and people who've helped you along the way have done for you, and that's a very noble goal. I can definitely dig that. So I guess one last thing for you, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but if anybody out there wants to see Justin Kyle in action, or they want to see what you're up to, what kind of social media or any platforms do you have that people can come and see you?
Well, I've got at Kill Justin Kyle on Instagram, on Twitter. You can find Justin Kyle on Facebook. That's the three primary platforms. In terms of the wrestling organizations that I work primarily, I work for Emerge Wrestling here in Indiana, Columbus. I work for WCWO there in Indianapolis. I work for New Wave Pro out of Terre Haute. And I work for Bizarro Lucha, obviously, in Indianapolis. So, I mean, I work a lot of localized shows, but they keep me very busy because they're bigger shows. So
all of those are good promotions. They have a good product. So definitely everybody who's out there listening to this right now would definitely encourage you to go find this man on social media, follow him, see what he's up to, and also go see some of these promotions, catch him there, see some great wrestling. Like you said, these are some good promotions that pull in some great people, and it's just a all-around good time. But Justin, I want to thank you very much for giving us the time this evening just to kind of chat with you and get to know you a little bit and learn a little bit about you, and I definitely appreciate that. Go follow him, and of course, support independent wrestling. Independent wrestling is the lifeblood of wrestling. Thank you again, Justin. You stay safe out there, and hopefully we will see you soon.
Yes, sir. You too. Thank you.
If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. All right, a great show. Thank you to Justin Kyle for coming on this week and being our guest. Again, keep an eye on that guy. He's got a huge future ahead of him. He's going to be a star. He's already a star, right? So make sure if you see a show out there in your area and they're advertising Justin Kyle, get to that show and check him out. Real quick here before we get out of here, make sure you subscribe and review to us on whatever platform you listen to us. If you listen to us on iTunes, make sure you leave us a rating and review. We would appreciate that. Make sure you heard earlier how to follow us on social media. Follow us on all those platforms and make sure you're sharing everything that we put out there. If we tweet something, retweet it. If we put something on Facebook, share that. Help spread the word, build the following, help be an integral part of this Midwest Express movement, supporting the past, present, and future of Midwest professional wrestling. Thank you for helping and being a part of that. Support and keep the show free, like it said in the little clip. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. Buy a shirt. We have the Dave Dynasty Show logo shirt, the Midwest Express logo shirt. We have shirts for Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and Izzy Slapowitz, so go on there and get one of those. And if you would like to make financial contributions to the show and help keep us free every week for you, go to paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty for a single contribution, or patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty for ongoing monthly contributions. Now, coming up next episode is very special. This Thursday will be the next episode, June 27th. Because that, my friends, is a holiday here for the Midwest Express and for Dave Dynasty Show. June 27th is the birthday of Dick the Bruiser. And as you know, we do a birthday tribute show. We did it last year. If you want to check out that, go in the archives and check out that episode. But we're got a cool one this week. We're going to have some classic audio. We're going to have a cool guest on to discuss some things. And we're just going to pay tribute to Bruiser. Very well, like it should be done. As only we can do here on the Dave Dynasty Show. So check that out. It's going to be fun. And then coming up the next week after that, we will have another young up-and-coming star, Jake Carter, on the show. That will be it is a cool interview. It's already done. It's great. So check that out the week after. And then the week after that, we're going to do one of our flashback tribute episodes, and we're going to do that one on Ox Baker. So lots of cool stuff here from the Dave Dynasty Show as we are mixing the new and the old. We're discussing the history and also giving you some up-and-comers and current stars. So we're telling you all about Midwest professional wrestling, the full scope and gambit. And we thank you for your support. So make sure you check us out Thursday with that special Dick the Bruiser birthday tribute episode. It's going to be fun. I guarantee it. But until then, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.